Did you know playing video games makes you a better person? No, seriously. I don't mean that if you play video games, you're morally or ethically superior to anybody else, obviously. But what I do mean is that when you play video games, your brain experiences major improvements. Video games are like steroids for the brain. There is no better teacher than video games, period. A study published in Brain Science in 2019 by these 3 authors claims that video games have a positive impact on the brain, primarily with relation to overall cognitive function, neuroplasticity, reaction time, and problem solving. Here's the abstract, and I'd encourage you to go read the article yourself, link in the description. Although scientists are only now coming to more definite conclusions about this, video game designers and a select group of psychologists have known this for a long time. 2 excellent books covering this are Reality is Broken, Why Video Games Make Us Better and How They Can Change the World by Jane McGonigal, and Everything Bad is Good for You by Stephen Johnson. I'll leave links to audiobooks and physical copies of these as well. Highly recommended. This is why I get slightly sad when I see somebody who only plays one type of video game. I grew up with people who would only play shooters, or only play Pokemon, or FIFA and Madden. People like that are simply holding themselves back. They don't get to experience every benefit of playing video games. So here's my basic recommendation for literally everybody. No matter how old, how young, my recommendations stay the same. Keep in mind, the basis for the following recommendations is the concept of repetition. The more that you perform certain brain functions, the better you get at them. The more often you do math, the better you get at math. Repeatedly solving puzzles of increasing difficulty will make you better at solving puzzles and real-world problem solving. And on top of all of that, a concept that I am borrowing directly from the ancient method of loci. When you perform any task that elicits an emotional reaction or that you associate with emotion, it will stick with you for longer and be significantly more impactful on the brain. For all of the following aspects of video game-based learning/improvement, you should pick the game that you personally enjoy the most or find most interesting. For example, with shooting games, I myself choose to mainly engage with battle royale shooters or very strategic shooters, because I enjoy keeping other parts of my brain active while playing a shooting game. Everybody should play at least one shooting game. Doesn't matter if it's Battlefield, COD, a Battle Royale, or Destiny. Shooter games have absolutely been shown to improve reaction time and hand-eye coordination. Relaxation games. Finding a game that offers you great relaxation, enjoyment, something you can come home at the end of a workday and play for an hour to just enjoy, is critical. Generally, I would say these games tend to be things like Minecraft, Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, Oxygen Not Included. Or if you like single-player story-based games, then choose any of those that you might be interested in. I flip between playing Civilization 6, Minecraft, and Turmoil when I want to play these types of games. Physically challenging games. By this I mean games which present a difficult challenge to you specifically. This can include games like Celeste, or Super Meat Boy, Hollow Knight, or Elden Ring, or high-level ranked play in various shooter games, various fighting games, etc. This type of game allows you to improve your hand-eye coordination, problem-solving, or resolve/discipline. And then at the end of it, receive a major sense of accomplishment and fulfillment for having accomplished such a monumental task. My personal choice is Souls games. I struggle with them a great deal at the beginning, but as they go on I tend to get better, and then when I beat them, I feel a wave of satisfaction that I just don't get playing anything else. Next is puzzle games, and I don't mean that you have to go play like Sudoku or something. By puzzle games I mean games like Legend of Zelda, various other dungeon crawlers, or games with a lot of intrigue or mystery. Now, to be perfectly honest, I haven't thought about this category nearly enough. I just play Legend of Zelda from time to time myself, and I would also definitely include difficult strategy games in this category. In the previous relaxation category, I mentioned Civilization 6. If I wanted to relax, I would play that game on Prince difficulty. However, if I wanted to engage with this category of games, I would bump that up to whatever the highest difficulty I can manage is, which right now is Emperor. Lastly, I would say that we all need to engage with competitive games. If you're like super not a competitive person, or you have good reasons not to engage with this category, for example, you don't like when you get mad at other people in video games, then you can absolutely ignore this category. Otherwise, I think competitiveness is a fairly base desire in human beings, and I think it's good to engage with. Playing games competitively can accelerate the benefits you get from engaging with any of these categories, because it forces you to keep up with the people you're competing against. In addition to all these categories that I've come up with, I think something else that's important to consider is that if you just stick with one type of game, you might end up burning out on video games earlier than you would have otherwise. I know plenty of people who don't play video games anymore, who did just play one type of game their entire life, and now they're bored of that type of game, but because they've never engaged with any other type of video game, they just think they don't like video games anymore. And I think this is just absolutely tragic, because those people are going to go on with their lives and perhaps not find anything else that can give them the same level of enjoyment or the same level of brain development that video games were providing them with. There's a fascinating idea being looked into by some researchers who don't have any conclusive evidence as far as I know, but they are beginning to study the idea that games like Tetris can be used to diagnose Alzheimer's and even to treat Alzheimer's. I believe there was a study of somebody who was suffering from Alzheimer's who primarily struggled with short-term memory and then consequently long-term memory, because there were no short-term memories to keep in long memory storage. And this person ended up becoming better at Tetris the more that the researchers allowed them to play it, even though every time they gave this person the game, they would have to explain the rules and how to play again, because they had no memory of it. And despite not having memory of it, this person's brain was clearly still retaining some information from Tetris, or from how to play it. I'll link some articles about that below. Finally, there's an aspect of humans engaging with art that I think should not be overlooked. First, there's the idea of biophilia, which is that humans kind of belong in nature. So when you expose yourself to trees and flowers or gardening or things like that, your brain really, really likes that. And this is why a lot of people encourage students to go and study out in the forest or by a waterfall or amongst trees or just in their backyard amongst some flowers. When I was in college, I would take advantage of this concept by sitting by windows at the top floor of our university's library and sitting with a view of trees and plants. It greatly helped me to complete assignments I was struggling with, and definitely seemed to improve my cognitive function overall. And I think we can gain at least some level of biophilia through playing video games that have beautiful landscapes or life-filled worlds that really show off the nature of the world that you are playing in. I would definitely include Elden Ring and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild in this category of biophilic games. To some extent, I think I would also include games like Assassin's Creed 3 and The Witcher. Maybe Skyrim, but Skyrim is also pretty barren. And then besides that, I think it's also important for humans to engage with art. And in my opinion, video games are one of the greatest forms of art that we have. The reason for this is that video games function like a combination of several arts. If it's a well-made video game, it should have a good soundtrack, which will allow you to engage with music in the way that I think humans need to engage with music, and it'll let you engage with storytelling if it's got a good story. And it's like experiencing a movie also, except that it's interactive. You're kind of getting this combination of all the performative arts, of literature, of cinematography / film, and at the same time it's all interactive and, in my opinion, more emotionally reactive, at least typically, if it's a well-made video game. So let me know what you think down in the comments. What games do you play, or what games would you choose from each category? Do you think you're engaging with video games in a particularly fulfilling way? And do you agree or disagree with me that people need to play a variety of games as I have laid out here? If you liked the video, smash that like button, and go watch this video on why God of War is one of the best games ever made.